Hello, this is Max. A man accidentally catches a girl in his fishing net, mistaking her for a mermaid. Later, he falls in love. You can subscribe to the channel after watching. It helps us a lot in realizing the content. A fisherman named Siracusa is pulling up his net, only to discover a woman trapped inside. He frees and revives her, taking her to his cabin with the promise of getting her to a hospital. The woman refuses to see anyone else and hides when another boat passes by. Curious, Siracusa asks for her name, but she claims she doesn't know. Assuming she lost her memory in the water, he introduces himself, known as Circus because people think he's a clown. Despite Siracusa's insistence on taking her to the hospital, the woman tries to jump off the boat. He stops her and promises to take her to a secluded place. He takes her to his deceased mother's hidden caravan, explaining his mother's preference for solitude. When he leaves, the woman doesn't even say goodbye. Siracusa rushes to pick up his daughter Annie from her dialysis appointment. She asks for a story, and Siracusa shares his encounter, disguising it as a fairy tale. Annie wonders if the woman might be a mermaid or a selkie, explaining that selkies are seal women who can sing and occasionally come ashore but must return to the sea. After dialysis, Annie receives a new power chair, exciting her. Siracusa continues his story, mentioning that the mysterious woman singing brought him good luck with his fishing traps. Siracusa sells plenty of lobsters in the market and steals some clothes while shopping. He picks up Annie from school, and she insists on racing him home in her motorized wheelchair. He continues his story, emphasizing the connection between the woman singing and his fishing luck. Unaware that Annie is following him, Siracusa brings clothes and food to Undine. As the woman asks to be called, she thanks him with a kiss on the cheek, and he wonders how long she plans to stay. Undine says it's up to him, and he suggests she can stay forever. Siracusa shares that he's been telling Annie about her, but as a fairy tale. Annie, curious about her father's story, follows him and borrows books about selkies from the library. Siracusa goes to the church to confide in the priest about his concerns regarding his ex-wife's drinking and its impact on Annie. He admits to stealing women's clothes for Undine but refuses to disclose her location. The next day, Annie discovers Undine swimming in the water, confirming her father's story. She realizes Undine is her father's mystery woman and asks if she has magic powers. Undine avoids answering and invites Annie into the caravan. Annie suggests they become friends, and Undine admits feeling different in the water. Annie asks about Undine's seal coat, and Undine becomes confused. Annie explains selkie lore, and Undine learns that she must find her seal coat to return to the sea or stay on land for 7 years with Undine. They bond, and Annie kisses her on the cheek before leaving. Siracusa visits the library for selkie books, only to find that Annie has already borrowed them. Annie faces teasing from other kids about her wheelchair, and Alex fixes it after it's damaged by another child. Siracusa and Undine go fishing, and when Undine hides from passing boats, she demonstrates her skill of steering with her feet and singing, bringing good luck to Siracusa's catches. When fisheries board patrollers investigate, they discover Undine but eventually leave, and Siracusa realizes that he's not imagining her. The two decide to go to the harbor together, attracting the attention of other fishermen. After selling their fish, Undine joins Siracusa in town to buy clothes, and they are joined by Annie, who helps Undine pick out clothes. Siracusa's female companion becomes the talk of the town, drawing attention from the locals. On a different occasion, Annie pays a visit to Undine by herself. Learning that Annie can't swim, Undine offers to teach her. During a swim, Undine discovers something wrapped in seaweed, which Annie believes to be her seal coat. Annie encourages Undine to bury it, allowing her to stay on land for 7 years. They bury it in an abandoned greenhouse near the caravan, and then attend the regatta with Siracusa. During the journey, Annie recounts myths about selkies, who can grant wishes and stay on land unless they have a selkie husband. Undine insists she's not a selkie and doesn't have a husband. Elsewhere, a mysterious man notices a seal in the water and kicks a fish to feed it. At the festivities, Annie challenges Undine to prove she's not a selkie by driving her wheelchair to the water's edge and falling in. Annie dives in to rescue her, prompting Siracusa to rush to their aid. Annie claims her wheelchair brakes broke, but she adds that Undine can breathe underwater. After dropping Annie off at Moore's house, Undine admits to Siracusa that his daughter intentionally tested her by falling into the water. Siracusa explains why people call him Circus, revealing his past as a clown and his decision to stop drinking after saving Annie from danger during Mora's absence, leading to their divorce. Undine comforts Siracusa, and their connection deepens, culminating in a passionate night together. Meanwhile, Mora inquires about Undine and mentions that someone was looking for her. This concerns Annie, who later dreams of the mysterious man emerging from the water. The following day, Siracusa confesses to the priest about his relationship with Undine. He expresses his fear that something significant, whether wonderful or terrible, is on the horizon. Afterward, the mysterious man approaches Siracusa, but he ignores him. Siracusa takes Annie to her dialysis appointment, where he learns that she was upset the previous night. Annie dismisses it as her imagination. Upon returning to Mora's place, they find it empty. They search for Mora in town, while another car arrives at Undine's home. Surprising her, she hides in the greenhouse as the mysterious man searches her home. Siracusa locates Mora and Alex at the pub, but they refuse to give him their house keys, assuming Annie will be fine. Annie assures her father that she'll be okay, so he leaves. When he arrives at the caravan, he discovers it has been ransacked. Fortunately, he finds Undine by the stream, who suspects her Selkie husband is the mysterious man. Recalling Annie's belief that Selkies can grant wishes, Siracusa suggests that Undine can wish the man away. However, Undine refuses, as her wish is for Annie to recover from her illness. Siracusa agrees to her wish, but also wishes for Undine to stay with them. While they converse, the mysterious man returns to town. Coincidentally, a drunk Mora is driving home with Alex and Annie, resulting in a collision that kills Alex. Siracusa and Undine come across the accident in shock. Hours later, Annie awakens in the hospital, where doctors prepare her for an operation. As Siracusa and Undine follow, they encounter the mysterious man, who calls out to Undine. Seeing him triggers Undine's memories, leaving her frozen in the hallway. Meanwhile, a doctor informs Siracusa that Alex was a registered organ donor, and his kidneys are a match for Annie. As a result, they immediately conduct a transplant to save the girl's life. Later, Undine encounters the man in the chapel, who is surprised that she's conversing in the local language. Despite her resentment towards him, she advises him to go home. However, he insists on staying because the police want to question him about the accident. When he approaches her, Undine angrily walks away. Several days later, they hold Alex's funeral, and an injured Mora scatters his ashes. Siracusa feels guilty about what transpired and empathizes with his ex-wife. However, Mora reassures him, asserting that he is not to blame. She then suggests that he take Annie to his home since she cannot properly care for her while recovering. Still, Mora is adamant that Undine cannot be near her daughter. They attend Alex's wake at the pub, where Mora manipulates Siracusa into drinking and advises him to get rid of Undine, claiming that she brings both good and bad luck. That evening, Siracusa, inebriated, heads to his boat, where Undine has been hiding from the mysterious man. Drunk and with impaired judgment, he decides to take Undine back to the sea. During their journey, he questions Undine about her husband, to which she clarifies that the man isn't her husband. Nevertheless, Siracusa insists that she would be better off in the sea. They arrive at a lighthouse, where Siracusa leaves Undine, believing that their fairy tale must come to an end to prevent further tragedies. The next day, the priest discovers a hungover Siracusa in a tree. As he sobers up, Siracusa realizes his mistake in accepting good luck. However, the priest tells him that misery is the easy path, while happiness requires effort. Later, Siracusa finally takes Annie to his home. She inquires about Undine, so her father explains that she went on a sea-related venture. However, Annie is confident that Undine will return because she left something behind, which she refuses to disclose to her father. The following day, Annie is watching TV when Siracusa hears a song similar to Undine's from a foreign singer. As he begins to suspect that Undine might not be a mythical being, his daughter encourages him to find her. Siracusa returns to the lighthouse and spots Undine on the shore, claiming to have joined the seals sunbathing. She inquires about his reason for returning, prompting him to explain that he heard her song on the TV. Seeking the truth, the fisherman presses further, leading Undine to finally disclose her real identity as Joanna. She reveals that she was a mule from Romania, on a boat to transport contraband when they were intercepted by the Coast Guards. The mysterious man, Vladik, was her handler, and he forced her to escape with their supplies since he couldn't swim. However, the shore was too distant, So Joanna abandoned the bag of supplies and allowed herself to sink into the water, at which point Siracusa found her. As Siracusa takes Joanna back to town, she unveils her true name. Upon their return to Siracusa's home, they discover Vladik with Andy. Siracusa immediately confronts the man physically, but Vladik's henchman intervenes, pointing a gun at Siracusa. The men interrogate Joanna about the missing supply, and Annie, fearing they are referring to her seal coat, pleads with Joanna not to reveal its location. However, this prompts Joanna to realize that the bundle she found was, in fact, the bag of supplies. Joanna leads them to the greenhouse but discovers the bag missing. Infuriated, Vladik accuses Annie of moving it, and Joanna implores the child to disclose its whereabouts, promising to stay with them if she does. Annie finally confesses that she hid it in a lobster trap, and the men retrieve it. As they do, Annie discreetly hints to Joanna that her husband doesn't appear to be as sulky, recalling that her handler cannot swim. Joanna pulls on the rope they are standing on, causing them to stumble and fall into the water, leading to Vladik's drowning. Subsequently, the police arrive and apprehend Vladik's thug. Several days later, Siracusa visits the priest, informing him that Joanna is facing deportation, which can be averted through marriage. In the following events, Annie visits the priest, admitting that she lied about throwing the seal coat into the lobster trap because she genuinely wants Joanna to remain with them. She discloses that her father and Joanna are getting married the following week and requests the priest to officiate the wedding. Ultimately, Siracusa and Joanna wed on the same boat where they first met, embarking on a happily ever after together. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen, and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.